and that's why because this year you've given out around 80%, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, if you go through the list, though, you got this girl. She looked good tonight. She fought a tough girl who's 7-0, and now she's 11-1 at 28 years old. How do you not sign Kevin? Right? He's 14-1. Look, fucking ends the fight with a 20-punch combo. The light heavyweight kid, Kevin. I wouldn't have signed him tonight, but Mick wanted him. How do you not sign Daniel and Danilo? I mean, yeah.
So does that say to you that the talent level you're bringing in is better now than it was previously?
I don't know about that. I think that obviously, you have these kids that are the right age with the right number of fights, and they come in and they perform when they're supposed to. So, yeah, I mean, you got to give them a shot. Listen, you can sit here and I don't care how long you've been in the business, you never know. It's like that kid, the last fight, that kid was an 8-1 underdog. You just never know who could end up being, what's his name? When I think about it, the Ultimate Fighter. He was picked last. I mean, how many guys were picked last on the Ultimate Fighter?
Gastelum was.
Yeah, Gastelum. Exactly. That's what I was thinking of. Kelvin was picked last. Somebody else was too, picked dead last, and look at what they became. So you never know. If we're here doing this and you got these guys with these records and perform like they do, got to give them a shot.
What about the heavyweight? I mean, the fact that, he lands, you expect a heavyweight to be explosive and big, power like that. But he immediately was on top of him and showed the great grappling skills, so the diversity in the game. I mean, does that show you that, hey, this is a guy that could really develop into something as he gets more experience?
Well, that's the other thing. He drops him the way that he did. Then he jumps right down there. He puts the choke on him. He doesn't have his hooks in or anything, but sinks that choke. To think of that, a lot of guys would have just started punching. Yeah, I mean, that guy showed up tonight and delivered. He looked like the 8-1 favorite.
And you said you thought there were a couple that might be stars. Was he one of the ones that you referenced when you said that?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get a heavyweight that can punch, and you never know, but I'm definitely looking at Kevin. You know what I mean? Kevin Vallejos, and yeah.
And then the last thing, in Vallejos' fight, I mean, the way he just seemed to ooze that confidence. Do you think that there's like a belief when guys go through this once that they develop a belief in themselves?
Well, and then when you look at who he lost to Silva, who's a fucking murderer. I mean, that guy's a killer, right? He just beat Dober. So he should feel confident. If he looks at the guy who beat him, what that guy's done, and that was a hell of a fight.
I just got one over here.
Yeah.
I heard earlier today the UFC signed Renier de Ridder, so I was just wondering what went into that decision and what are your expectations for him?
Shit, I don't know about that. You have to ask Sean or Mick about that. Yeah.
You made headlines again talking about boxing and year in. Is that something that we can expect in the next year, or is it kind of like a slow rollout, or are you expecting to do a big announcement at some point?
Yeah, I did my first fight in Ireland, and yeah, we'll start announcing stuff here beginning of 25.
Well, what do you think of the Anthony Joshua knockout?
What did I think? Yeah, listen, when you get two big heavyweights in there, fucking anything can happen, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, I'm not invested either way whatsoever in it. I can say this, the Warrens lifted their exclusivity for me to put that fight on Friday night. Good things happen to good people. I guess I'll say that.
And then big fight night this Saturday in Paris. Can you just talk about the main event? Benoit Saint Denis versus Moicano. That's just kind of on paper. It's just a firefight between two killers. With Benoit coming off the loss to Poirier, he has a lot to prove. Plus, fighting his first main event in Paris is just going to be crazy. you'd imagine.
Yeah, no, that should be an absolute war. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. You just said it all. You just fucking teed it up. You're absolutely right. I agree. Every time we go to Paris, it's packed, fans are rabid there, so it should be a fun night.
Thank you.
Hey, Dana. In front. We recently talked about you and Turkey Al-Alashik. Are we seeing more cohesion between you guys? Because I couldn't help but notice with Callum Walsh, he was wearing Riyadh season across his chest on the way to the ring.
Who?
Callum.
Callum?
Yeah. So he had Riyadh season on his T-shirt as he was walking to the ring. Is that something that you teed up for him?
Well, I know that Sheikh Turkey had invited him to come out to the AJ fight after the fight, but he had a bunch of family out there with him, but he really wanted to go. That was more of a thank you and a respect thing to Sheikh Turkey.
Fair enough. And with you saying you're in when it comes to boxing, I just wanted to read a quote about you and the UFC from Eddie Hearn earlier this year. And he said, the reason their business is so successful, and I'm envious of it, is fighters sign a central contract. It's not a case of you're told, who you're told you're fighting and we'll see you there. There are no arguments or renegotiations. It's a case of, all right, you versus you, that's the fight, see you there. And then they go out and announce it. And I think he's talking about you, would struggle to come to terms with that lack of control that you have in boxing. And I think he's talking about when, sometimes in boxing, fighters would get a piece of the back end with pay-per-view and, fighter pay. There's differences between boxing and MMA. Do you have a response to that quote? It's from earlier this year in 2024.
Eddie Hearn is dead on. I absolutely agree with everything that he said. I have a plan, I'm going to implement that plan and we'll see how it works. We'll see how this thing works. People have been talking about the demise of boxing for 30 years and we're still here talking about boxing right now. I have always had an idea of how I thought it should be done. I don't know if that's possible, but we're going to find out. I'm coming in guns a-blazing.
You've got like UFC, Contender Series, Slap. Would you have space to do boxing as well? Or would you have like a figurehead to kind of run it for you?
I'll build the offices right here at the Apex. The offices will be here. We're already doing construction here, and I'm planning to build all the infrastructure right here at the Apex.
So, but would boxers have access to the Performance Institute?
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's under contract, slap fighters have access to it.
Yeah.
Anyone who's under contract with us has access to the PI.
Eddie Hearn also said that I think if he was to do something in boxing, I think his preference would be to do it with us if he was going to do it with anybody. I think your preference might be to do it with Tom Loeffler. Is Eddie right or am I right?
Listen, I like Eddie Hearn very much. Eddie Hearn was at the Sphere fight. He came early before the fight started. I have a great relationship with him. I have a great relationship with the Warrens. Obviously, love Tom Loeffler and his matchmaking and what he does. I would probably be working with a lot of people. I'm sure you can assume the people that I would not be working with. I don't think you have to be a fucking genius to figure that one out. But yeah, I like Eddie Hearn a lot and would love to work with Eddie Hearn.
Outside of Callum Walsh, do you envisage working with other boxers in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yes.
Is one of those boxers Terence Crawford?
Like Terence too. I'll let you know the plan when everything's done. When everything's done, I'll lay out what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and we'll see how it goes.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
I've just got one more for boxing. Will we potentially see UFC fighters taking a break and doing a boxing fight, or is it going to be completely separate?
God, I hope not. Yeah, no.
Thank you.
Completely separate.
Just to follow up really quickly, you said in 2017 you were going to do it. You had a Zuffa boxing shirt. What happened then, and why did you change? Because when you said then you were out. Now, how did you commit?
Well, every time I get on the phone with these guys, I go, "Am I out of my fucking mind?" It's just. But I think that, obviously now is the time, or I would have done it then. I was kicking around. I was even talking about Anthony Joshua at one time and stuff like that. I'm glad that I pumped the brakes and we waited, and everything is about timing. And is now the time? We're going to find out.
Why do you think now is better than 2017?
There's a million reasons why now is. If you notice with as far as boxing goes, even as much money as Shake Turkey is throwing into this thing, television deals aren't really abundant right now. There's just a lot of things that I think I can do that other people haven't done yet.
You said to the Irish people, I'm HBO, he's the promoter, referencing Tom. When you get into what you're talking about, getting into boxing, will you carry that philosophy? And then is this something that will just be to build Fight Pass into a bigger entity?
I will definitely be HBO. Yeah.
Dana, over here,
Yep.
you mentioned obviously this being your first fight with the Callum one that just happened. I also noticed that the broadcast for Callum Walsh's fight was very similar to the UFC one. They had the same graphics and everything. So, did you receive any feedback from their production team on how it went using some of the stuff the UFC uses in their production? Yeah, it was a similar production. Yeah.
Yeah, we pulled this thing off quick. There's obviously a lot of work to do, but what'd you notice about it? How fast the fights went? No fucking podcast in between fights. Yeah. So, yes, the fights will move faster. Yeah.
Sure. And Mike Tyson, I know you guys are great friends, but Mike Tyson said you getting involved in boxing would be the best thing to ever happen to the sport. So how do you feel hearing that from a guy like him?
You know how I feel about Mike. I love Mike Tyson. So to hear Mike Tyson say anything positive is awesome.
And earlier this year, I actually asked Errol Spence about this. I asked him if the boxing people would take that formula you guys have with having all the guys under one promotion, would that be the best thing for boxing? He said yes, as long as all the right people are involved. So is that what you envision in your project, eventually one day having all the best boxers under one umbrella sort of thing?
Well, it's not like that hasn't been done before. I mean, there have been dominant promoters before that have had most of the talent locked up. But listen, I think if you asked anybody, and even if you asked yourselves, the UFC model works. It works.
Thank you.
What was your thoughts on Walsh's performance and let alone just his star power? Obviously, they loved him over there.
Yeah, I mean, for him to go back to his home country and finish the way that he did, and Kevin and I were talking that night, and he beat a real guy, a guy who's never been finished, and he did it spectacularly. The commission over there needs some work. I mean, there were two really, really fucking bad decisions that night. And even the Callum fight, I think that, it was a pretty fast count to 10. I think Ranowski probably could have got back up. I don't know if the result would have been the same, but, as you bring more fights to the region, start to get more work and get people, I don't know, hopefully better at judging. Because, I mean, there was one fight there that night that you didn't even ever have to watch a fight in your life and know who won the fight. And he didn't. It was pretty crazy.
When you have a guy like that has such star power, do you think that's the key of what would help rocket Zuffa boxing, finding more fighters like that you can find and really help propel the...
Finding stars helps any sport. If it's soccer, it's boxing, it's MMA, it's whatever. You got to have stars.
And last, any update on Zhang Weili when we might see her? Is that kind of just contingent on that?
We literally just met with her last week. We literally met with her the day before or the day of going to Ireland. But yeah, we'll be announcing something with her soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Dana.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dana, just a couple more. With you saying that there'll be announcements early 2025, can't help but feel that's the same timeline as Turki Al-Alashik's plan for a league. Are they similar announcements, or do you think they'll be separate?
He's announcing a league in 25?
That's what I've been hearing, yes.
Okay. You never know.
And with Callum Walsh, I've spoken to him a few times. It's clear he loves UFC and cross-trains. I know he trains with Tony Ferguson. Do you expect him to one day be a UFC fighter?
No. I expect him to win world championships and make a bunch of money and retire, hopefully. Yeah.
Just one boxing question here, Dana. I know the Callum Walsh card was a huge success. I know you'd extended an invitation to Connor to come join you. Didn't see him there, but he was there at the AJ fight the next day. Did you any disappointment? Did you talk to Connor that he decided to go to the AJ fight, kind of close together?
No, I was talking to Connor the whole time. Connor got stuck in New York. He had plane issues, and Connor landed like right when the fight got over. But Connor wanted to come. He was trying to come. He had an after party for him at his place, which, by the way, did any of you guys go to his place yet out in Ireland? Fucking awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Black Forge is a great restaurant, and it was very cool. It was a great experience. So, no, there was, and I knew Connor was going the next day. Yeah. No disappointment. Cool? Thanks, guys.